On this week's Hot 10 video for the reserve list, we'll be discussing and taking a look at the hottest selling cards on the reserve list, but also why some of these cards keep appearing week after week, month after month, and what these sales mean going forward. You ever walked around the block in your neighborhood and everything just seems to be the same day after day, week after week, and then something happens? You know, you think you've seen it all and something just changes things up, guys. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on my YouTube channel today. This is the Hot 10 Reserve List Edition. This is what we do on Sundays, is I show you guys the hottest selling cards on the reserve list. But what I find interesting is not that we have some big cards on the list this week. It's the fact that so many cards almost made the list. Way more than normal. Some cards only get 2 or 3 sales in a week. Some get none. But this week there were so many cards from the 18 to like 20 range of sales. Not enough to make the list, but really coming in close this week. And then you start talking to some people. And with recession word hanging in the air and things are going to zero and why should I keep money in the bank? You know, I have friends who are putting money into investments right now. I got friends who are putting money into more Magic, sealed, and a lot of single reserve list cards because they said when it rebounds, when the markets do come back, these cards will go back up. They will get more value for me. I'm buying near mint, so I have more options available, and that's what they're doing. And it kind of shows on things like TCG Player and stuff. It's really one of those areas I'm not an expert in, guys. I'm not a financial person, but even I can see when I see blue chip stock, like bank stock and stuff, which I normally are that's the one I buy. When they're this cheap, I'm buying into it. When I see reserve list cards this cheap, I'm buying into it. I am tapping into reserve funds and I am picking up cards, specifically cards that are related, even if they're not reserve list, but related to me getting more onto my Arabian Nights collection building. I think I've picked off quite a few cards lately. I will do a video on that, by the way, at some point later and show some of the collection I've been building. And yeah, I need lots of the expensive cards still. Such is life, right? So here we go, guys. We're going to take a look. We're going to start the Yellow Brick Road. Going to go to number 10 all the way down to number 1. Show you the hottest selling cards and make some comments in between talking about what is going on out there because things are going to change. So here we have Copy Artifact at number 10 this week with 25 sales. The average price is $71.95 US. The market price is $67.89 US. €59.11 to get this card into your house. But when you're doing cross comparisons on a reserve list card like this that is continuing to trend down in pricing, making it more affordable for the player base to get their hands on, you realize we're comparing against cards that already exist. When you look at $70 cards, look at what's happening right now with a card like Mox Amber. These cards are parity with each other, except for one is 30 years old. That's the way it's going to be sometimes until it gets reprinted. But remember, hold the line because reserve list cards are never coming back. And Copy Artifact, yes, it has other variants like Mirror Maid that they brought out in Eldraine, but they're not the same and they're not as cheap casting. Copy Artifact is a beast in many decks. We used to use this to like copy the Chaos Orb and keep using it and bring it back with a Skull of Orm. Was a blast to keep bringing it back turn after turn. So Copy Artifact, keep trending down, making yourself more affordable. Players love it. Memory Jar also continues to hold in there this week with 26 sales this week, barely beating out Copy Artifact. Now, this card should probably not be this low. It has a lot of uses. Players do enjoy playing with it. The average price is $57.45 US. The foil, though, look at that. Don't forget, Urza's Legacy, guys, $644.01 US. This was also reprinted in from the vault. Don't forget that. They got a slap on the wrist from, Wizards was told, don't do that from the player base, but it's still out there right now, and you can have it for about the same price. €34.84 to get that card to your house. Memory Jar is one of those cards. I think it probably will spike well over 150 to 200 when things start to go back up. So it's probably a pretty good bet that getting it for 55 to 60 bucks is going to be a bargain whenever the market does decide to turn around. Remember, nobody knows when it's going to happen, but you just don't want regrets along the way. So if it's a card you need, I wouldn't hesitate. Now our next card this week is Fastbond, which has been on the list many times in the last several weeks. It seems to go off and then come back on again. Every time people seem to forget about it and the price dips a little bit and by a buck or two, that's when people grab it. This card is $22 US. That's the average. And when you look there and see it's €22 and 28 cents, and it's $25 here in Canada. The price is kind of all over a little bit, but it looks like the US is still the cheapest one to buy it right now. Pretty amazing card, because Canada, the ones I found were 25, were not near mint, by the way. That 22 US would be for a near mint copy. It's still a great card to have, though. I don't care if it's banned. It shouldn't be banned. It's an amazing card. I love it. Now, our number 7 card this week is the Hand of Justice with 30 sales this week. Now, the Hand of Justice is one of those cards I remember very fondly from my youth in my banding deck. This is a 1 white generic, 5 other for the 2/6, but it was being able to, for a white card to be able to tap and destroy any target creature was, white had never had anything like this before. This was considered amazing. Blew a lot of our minds. How difficult the mechanic was to make it work really didn't factor into us wanting the card back then. And it really shows now that people like the card. They have good memories of it, but it just doesn't work that easily. You have to work around it. Maybe in a commander deck you can make this happen. So I can see why people are buying it, and it's just so cheap. Like $3 US is the average. €2.44. It's about $5 here in Canada. This is a very inexpensive card to get your hands on. Now, with the number 6 card this week, back in there is Thrull Champion with 32 sales. Welcome back, Mr. Thrull Champion. We're glad you're here. Now, this card is $6.89 US. The market price is $7.86 US, and it's €4.65 to get this card in your house. It's had a bit of a resurgence. This card has been up to about $10. It really dropped down, and the moderately played copies are still around that $2 to $2.50 US mark on TCG Player. But when you look at this and you see there's this many sales and there's a bounce back, because the people buying it were buying the near mint copies. They were leaving the moderately played for whoever wants to buy them. They were picking off only near mint copies. Remember that. There are not a lot of near mint copies of Fallen Empires unless you're cracking boxes, because these cards were used and abused. And there is always a chance, as has been shown year after year with all these different themes, that Thrulls could come around. I really thought we might get something in Dominaria United. I'm kind of insulted we didn't. But you never know what's going to come around later in the storyline. So guys, keep your eyes peeled. One never knows what will connect with this card. Now, when we're taking a look at the number 5 card, another card that has been here many times, and that is Fork from Revised Edition with 33 sales this week. You notice how tight these sales are together, by the way? I find that really interesting considering how often these cards are purchased, and I'm looking at it over a very long period of time. The last little while, a lot of these cards have been very tight and very neck and neck. Now, Fork with the 33 sales, this thing has plummeted down from that $150 mark all the way down to about $50 US. It's around $70 here in Canada still for a near mint copy. €28.57 to get this card overseas. Makes me wonder if it's that available that somebody could purchase them and ship them to the US. Because I know it's not easily done through things like Card Market, but it's one of those cards. I basically would say everyone needs at least a copy of it. If you're playing any red commander deck, it never hurts to have this lying around so you have a copy. And the price has, it hasn't been lower like this since 2021? Like, it just hasn't been this low. Now, the number 4 card was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect to see the Anvil and bogardan back from Visions, but upon a review, there it was looking at me with 35 sales. The average price is $42.84 US, but I want to comment on this for a second. The Anvil is an interesting card, okay? It does have some playability, but you can find this card a lot cheaper than that $42.84. That's for a near mint copy. You could go on TCG Player and get this thing for $25, okay? For a moderately played copy. If you just want one, it's $25. 2 casting cost generic artifact. Each player skips his or her discard phase. During each player's draw phase, that player draws an additional card and then chooses and discards a card. Guys, think about why you would want to discard cards. Think about why you would want to, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of insane reasons why you want cards in your graveyard, and this thing helps you do it, and it's that cheap. Most people see it like, it's a $150, $200 card, and for some reason right now, you can get copies for $25. I think that's just a steal, and I can't believe it's at that price. Another one that surprised me this week is Thawing Glaciers from Alliances. Now, this one we've talked about numerous times. being able to thin out your library, being able to go get lands, get is an amazing feature in this game. This also has the Judge promo. So if you have some extra money, I would definitely go the Judge promo route, spend the $110 Canadian, get the near mint copy, because that was just so much more rare and it was so hard to get because it's only for Judge promo stuff, and then they stopped making it. I look at the 39 sales and I say that just seems so, like, the card is so underrated. This should easily be $100 and it's not there yet, but who knows what will happen going forward. This thing can be paired off with a whole series of other cards when built correctly. I've seen a guy use this with Amulet of, Amulet of Vigor, and with a Mox deck and stuff, and he was like searching for things right away. It was an insane thing to see happen. So the things you can build with decks like this after you have these kind of mid to low tier level reserve list cards is really fascinating. So you shouldn't underestimate stuff like this. Now the number 2 card, this was on the list last week, and that's Andazaerian Ruins with 42 sales this week from Homelands. This card continues to surprise, and it actually is seeing, the market has been affected enough that it has to react. And that's hard in this kind of market, to see that Andazaerian Ruins has poked the bear enough that people have had to adjust their prices, especially for the near mint copies. You can see there's an uptick there in the market thing, and that is very hard to do right now because there's not enough people buying large sums of reserve list cards. When the market goes through a buyout, it's an immediate jerk reaction. These are actual players buying these a couple at a time, but there's just so many bought in the last few weeks that it couldn't be helped. The market noticed, it's done an uptick, the prices have adjusted a little bit, but it's still very affordable. $6.29 US is the average, €2.76. Here in Canada, it's about $7, okay, for a near mint copy. Pretty amazing stuff to get your hands on this stuff. Now, we've gone down the yellow brick road. We're at the number 1 card, and I was a little surprised to see that Mystic Decree took the number 1 spot. A lot of sales in the last couple of days put this one over the top. Now, I am very fond of this card from Homelands. I have used it numerous times, and I'm working on a commander deck, a white-blue commander right now. All creatures lose flying and island walk. There's a lot of reasons why you want, I don't really care about the island walk. There's a lot of reasons to make cards and creatures, lose that flying ability. I don't want any flyers out of the battlefield. This is a card I'm going to use. I'm going to use that in conjunction with other cards like Allen Sanctuary, things that, stop people from attacking you. Gravity Sphere, Mudslide, Andazaerian Ruins. You can mess people up with the right combinations, and that's why these games were very, very strategic, very drawn out, very good chess match. The chess match, oh man, I can barely speak. The chess match kind of style of Magic is very hard to see nowadays. It happens so quickly, and you can be dead by turn 4, even in a standard game. It happens to me all the time on Arena. The games like this, when you got a card like this out, you could really start messing with people, and they didn't know what to do. And that's where you're at with cards like that. That style of play is so unrecognizable to the player base now that when I get a little combo like that going, when people leave me alone thinking I'm no threat, I got a little couple, trusted companion, I got a little, little 1/1 guy out there, a little 2/2, and I put a little enchantment, and they're like, who cares about that? Another little enchantment, and they're blowing their opponent's stuff up, and then you put out and say, oh, nobody can attack me now. None of your stuff untaps. None of this. Then they start like, how? Why? Why is this happening? That is something that can't be understated. How exciting it can be to teach players how the game used to be. Show them how political it can be even now. Knowing that what you're playing can affect everybody in game-ending terms. Just like they can have a win con that wins everything, yours may be slower to the race, but they still got to pay attention to you because you can mess them up with cards like that. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. Really hope you guys enjoyed the Hot 10 this week. There's some fascinating stuff going on in the reserve list with how many sales we're seeing on the market. It is across the board, and they're not all making it. But as an honorable mention here, there were several of the dual lands from Badlands, Savannah, Taiga. I'm trying, guys. Tropical Island. All those cards have between 10 and like 18 sales, which that's tens of thousands of dollars. It didn't make the list because it didn't go high enough. This is based on volume, but it's still fascinating to see. And there was tons of lower cards, like even Soldevi Excavations, one of my favorites, you guys know, had numerous sales, but not nearly enough to make that list. So I'll be curious to see where we go next week on the Hot 10. Yes, I banged the microphone. It doesn't seem to be helped on a Saturday. I mean, come on, I got the coffee here. Sometimes you just got to take a break. Break me off a piece of that, Kit Kat bar. That's it. Have a great day, everyone. And of course, a big shout out goes out to all the fantastic patrons on the channel who make the content possible. Thanks again for that continued support. Patrons, you are truly amazing people. I really want to show you these, but I just can't. And I'm really proud of them, but I can't show you yet. The video will come soon. It will, just not yet. Just not yet. It's special to me, but just, not yet. I'll see you guys soon.